I recently had a client come in and see me and describe their case. She was a mom of a couple children, and she lived locally, and she was all upset. And I wondered why. I said, what? And she was as sweet as all get out. She sat and she told me her story, and I just shook my head. I said, this is crazy. What happened was that she got into a disagreement with her husband, and DCF qualified it as domestic violence. DCF played heavy-handed with her, and she hired a local yokel attorney who meant well but didn't do well by my client. And why is that? He didn't know what he was doing. It's that simple. And that was abundantly clear when she sat down and she told me that he had her sign everything, which is so wrong. You have rights. You have protected rights, affirmative rights, and you have a right to therapy under a fancy schmancy term called Mass General Laws, Chapter 233, Section 20B. Nobody cares. But there's a therapeutic privilege between the therapist and the client. And effectively that attorney just ruled it out, just did it away, threw it in the toilet. And DCF had unfettered access to all my clients' records, medical, therapy, everything under the sun. And the client said to me, I just didn't feel right signing all these documents. I just, it was crazy. And then she says, DCF comes to my house, and I'm sitting there like deer in the headlights. And I paid for a lawyer and paid a lot of money, and there's no lawyer. And then DCF interviewed my kids alone, and I had no idea what the heck I was doing or what they were doing. They were spooked. Who likes to have DCF in your house? So I'm not happy, and my kids aren't happy, and this case is going bad to worse, she told me. And then finally, when they gave her an action plan to sign off on, it was all this gobbledygook she didn't understand. And she then knew, she said, I gotta get rid of this lawyer. So she called me up and she told me this big story, and I just shook my head. I said, what was the rationale and reasoning to sign away all these rights? And she says, I was never explained such. And to me, there is no reason to do that, because you must protect yourself against everyone and everybody. And therapy is a very important thing that should be protected by everybody. Not only a lawyer, but also by DCF and anyone else. You should have the right to confidentiality. Now, having said that, this social worker came out to the home and asked my client to sign an action plan. That wasn't even her action plan. It had somebody else on it. And I'm like, what is this? And of course, my client says, I'm not signing that, Kevin. And I said, I agree with you. And I told the social worker, I said, if you're making her sign that action plan with somebody else's name on it, then you do her action plan, have somebody sign her action plan, which doesn't fit them either. So it was all screwed up. So the social worker didn't push back, admitted much to her credit or fault, and said, we'll talk about it, which we did the following month. So we worked in a spirit of cooperation. My client did what she needed to do, and she got DCF in her life, out of her life, without losing her children. And she was thrilled. She went home happy. DCF was happy. The right thing was done. And it was a win-win-win. But that doesn't always happen. And the moral of the case is that when you hire a lawyer, make sure you don't hire somebody that has no experience handling your case. Make sure you look to see the social proof. What have they done for other clients? And how successful have they been? And you can easily determine that. Just ask the lawyer. Look at the website. Do they practice 10 different forms of law? Or do they specialize in your specific area of the law that you are asking to be represented on? You can be a jack of all trades, but then you're a master of none. So we get it when it comes to building a home. We get it when it comes to doctors. You don't go see an ophthalmologist to have your teeth cleaned. You don't go to the cardio doctor to have your feet looked at. We get that. But yet when it comes to law, many times clients will see their wills, estates, and trust lawyer to handle their DCF case, which is ludicrous. Don't do that. Find that specialist. Get the right person to get the right result. For not only you, but also your children.